Thanks for joining me for this Zentangle Quickie. My name is Heather Hartwick Gladden. I'm a certified Zentangle teacher, and today we're going to take a look at the tangle Courant. And Courant was created by the folks at Zentangle. It is a really neat tangle. I'm going to start off my little bijou tile here with 4 corner dots. And this is traditionally how we start, actually say it's one of the ways that we start a tangle, especially as we're getting started. This helps those of us who have issues with spontaneous creativity. I forgot what I called it. That's what I call it anyway. To get us working on the paper, because I have always found that working just on a blank sheet of paper is overwhelming, just looking at it and where to start. This gives you a place to start. So Courant starts off with, I'm going to call it a scribble. You know, it's kind of like a string. So if you are familiar with Zentangle, you know what a string is. If you're not, I will tell you. A string, if you pictured a string and you dropped a string on, I'm going to do that right now. I'm grabbing a piece of leftover thread from making bassoon reeds. So if I drop it, you know, it goes in a certain pattern. I can pick it up and I can kind of drop it again. Oh, and there's another pattern. Oh, well, that's not really anything. But you get the idea. And so we create a string inside of this border so that way we can then put patterns inside those little sections. So this one, part of the tangle itself is creating a string. I was calling it a scribble because that, I mean, it is still kind of what it is. And a string is also, you know, similar to that. Anyway, so this is where I personally have a lot of challenge because, as I said, the spontaneous creativity for me is a challenge. And, you know, maybe if I go slow, that's a help. Okay, I like that. You know, and it's one of those, I don't know why, but that is just a challenge that I have. Now, hindsight, I could have done this borderline in ink because it's going to be part of this tangle. I'm going to go ahead and just ink over my pencil line here. And one of the things that I did do my best to do here is to touch the borderline. And it's because of the next step, which I will share in a minute. And as I'm doing this here, let's see. There we go. Oh, that was the last bit. Okay. So after this, all that we have to do is we aura each section. And it's a little bit different. So a little bit different than maybe a traditional aura. And to aura is to essentially outline. This is kind of like, it's aura-ing, but in a oh, I lost the words that I want to use. Kind of like in a spiral. That's the word I want to use. Let me start with this big section here so you can see. So I'm starting with the traditional aura, so I'm just going to start right here. And to aura, again, is kind of like outlining. So, you know, I'm outlining or I'm inlining because I'm going on the inside of this, right? Okay, now, what you don't want to do, so I'm going to stop right here, is we're not going to meet back up. So a traditional aura would be, oh, I'm going to go around the inside, and that's it. And then I might go around again. And so it's like a inclusive, you know, it's, you know, we kind of complete that thought. What we're going to do here is we're going to make the spiral. So we're not going to complete it. We're going to start here, oh, and then we're going to start again. And then just working hard and going slow to work to follow the contours of the shape that you are essentially oraing. This is actually, maybe I could call it a continuous aura. That probably fits. And that one for sure. We were talking earlier, because I did this on the class. That looks like a thumbprint right there for sure. How funny. All right, so then picking another section. No rhyme, no reason. You know, just out of the blue. And it doesn't matter, you know, which direction you start. But again, we're just, you know, working towards following the contour of the lines. You know, even like here, I didn't do it as well as I, you know, maybe I'd wanted to, but that's what I worked to. Like even this little little curve up here. So let me do this one. And I'm going to start right here. And this is one where going slow helps. And also, you know, turning the tile, if it helps you to do that, go ahead and do that. I like to turn it for the most part to see what I'm doing. So like even here, the pen is a little bit in the way of the line that I'm auraing. And so sometimes that can, you know, it creates a little bit of a barrier. But then sometimes too, you know, especially something, you know, this is so small, the tile itself, but the section is so small, it's not necessarily worth the time to continue to turn my tile. Okay, and so that one I'm just gonna put like a little triangle aura right there, just to fill the space. And then here, now I do have some examples to share, because there's some fun things that you can do with it. So while I'm doing it, we'll talk about those. You can, well, let me back up in my mind for a minute. Traditionally in Zentangle, because I feel I want to make sure to share this so that way that if this is the first video you're watching, that you understand. Traditionally in the methodology, we'll call it. Oh, this looks like Star Trek communicator, or no, their little insignia. Sorry. So normally in Zentangle, what we would do is actually I'm going to go right here. We'll use black pen on a white tile, and if we call the paper tiles, and then we would add, we'll add shades of gray with a graphite for shading if we want to. And the reason that we do this essentially in the methodology is so that way you don't have to think so much. And that, because Zentangle was started as a way to help teach meditation through art, it kind of lends itself for that, right? Because, to not have to think too much, to just do, that's the objective. But we can still have fun with this. So you can add color. There's no rule that says, oh, it's Zentangle, so you can't have color. Of course you can have color if you want to. We end up calling that Zentangle inspired art. But we do. So we have these Renaissance tiles that are tan toned, and I have one of those to show you when we finish here. We also recently brought in gray tiles because in the Renaissance they used these toned papers, and then it's called chiaroscuro, and they would kind of pit the light against the dark and have that play going back and forth, and it's a really neat technique to have fun with. So there's a lot of things that we do now, but I sometimes like to just kind of stay purist, especially for these where I'm showing you how to do this. So that's why I like talk about color and show you examples of color, but might not do it myself. Now I want to share one thing. So on the class that I had just today using this Tangle, we had I think there was a couple people that, left an open space. And it was just like, oh, well, that's a really neat idea. And I want to let you know that you can do that. Just because, here, this is how the step out shows it. Yes, you can do it exactly that way, but you can also bring in your own creativity to it. There is kind of like a balance there. So, so if I wanted to leave that open like that, then I certainly could leave that open. I'm going to fill it though, because I want to. But I just wanted to share that with you because it's a neat idea. And this one I do want to fill because this is one of these odd shapes that I have, and I want to share one idea or one way that I do these. I got real close to that line there. So there's a point, and probably right now, where I'm not going to fit two lines through here evenly spaced. So what I do, and for whatever reason I call this bouncing. So I'm going, I'm not going to fit two lines, so I'm going to kind of back up, bounce off of that, come back, and then I'm going to continue what I'm doing here as long as I can do that. Then I'm going to pick it up over here. So then I'm just going to start there. This, if you've ever done the Tangle Crescent Moon, I do a lot of that in there. But just as a, if you have a place like that where it's too tight, and that's really the only decision making in this tangle that we have is just kind of like, you know, following the contour. And then if you get into a little space like that, then you could do something else. Or like here, where I was like, well, I just want to add a little bit of trinkles. I don't want to have that big of a space there, just because that's what I want to do. Now, for shading, a couple things. One way is you could shade the whole perimeter of what you've done. Another way is, which, you know what, I think I'm going to do it this way because I can demonstrate the others, because this was neat. I'm going to find my original path here, and I'm putting graphite down on that original path, and I think I'm ending up doing this in almost little chunks here, because that way I can see what I've done. And I'm going to add it just a little bit dark because I do know how it will end up, and it's what I want. You could also, you don't have to shade it either. That's, you know, it's one of those things, you know, most everything here is optional. Which is also fun because, let's see, and do what I have? Oh yeah, I think, oh yes, I finished that line. Right there. Okay. All right, very good. Close enough. All right, so then what I do is I'm going to take the tortillon, and I'm going to kind of spread to both sides of this, you know, of where I put the graphite. So that way I'm kind of shading on both ends. And by both ends, I mean kind of both sides of each pattern. So I'm kind of taking the tip, actually I'm taking the tip and I'm sinking it down of each section, because I've added that graphite. And then I'm going to do the inside of here. Actually, I might need to go and do that outside edge just a little bit darker. So you see, it's almost as if I'm coloring in. Now I might go back through and spread this out just a little bit more, especially some areas like this that are rather large. The ones that are a little tighter, probably could have used a little less graphite, because what we want, we don't want to end up having the whole thing be dark, because then that defeats the purpose of the shading. And also, you know, in our kits, we do not put any erasers. There's no rulers. This is just, you know, it's kind of flying by the seat of your pants. You know, living without a safety net type of thing. Drawing without a safety net, we'll say. And I'm just going to do a little bit here. Just because I want it to be kind of even. Oops. And I could, if I want to, because a lot of times I've done this in the past where I will use the tortillon and spread the graphite out to the side, outside of this, and it makes it look fuzzy and kind of neat. So that's kind of neat. And actually I would spread it maybe just a little bit more, just to have a little bit more grading, especially in some of these big areas. Because then what's neat is then it should look like, you know, like as if I'm pulling up the centers of these. And you could do it the opposite way also, where you kind of go in the middle and do it dark. Some of these got a little bit too dark, but that's okay. But you get the idea. It's one way to shade. Now here is another one. Now this one I didn't quite finish, but actually what I did was where there were natural points. So like here you can see, you know, here's some corners. And actually, because I was going to reserve, I want to do the blue sections in with blue chalk, and I hadn't quite finished that, but I wanted to show this off to you. And, you know, the circular ones, I just kind of like did one side, but where there were kind of corners or where it bent, like here. So here's a definite curve, and so I added graphite to those, and it creates a neat effect. And then also, so this is on the gray tile. You can kind of see the little bit of the difference. And so then this one is the Renaissance tile. And this one, I did it in our traditional Renaissance style, which I used brown and black alternating. And so in here I did, that's what I did here, is like every step the same as here. Each adjacent, I did my best to alternate brown and black. And then this one I did similar to here, but I did all of them with the graphite. So where there were, these corners, I took the corners out. And this one I didn't do it as heavy as I did here. I did this one just a little bit lighter because I was playing around with it. And then also in the centers of, or in between where I put the shading, I added some white charcoal pencil. So that way you could see, just to add some highlight to emphasize, that's kind of raised up. So that's another fun thing that you can do when you're using a toned paper is to be able to use the darkness of the graphite and then the lightness of the white charcoal and have a lot of fun with it. So I hope you enjoyed. Oh, that makes a nice one. I hope you enjoyed this and have fun with this tangle. It is a really, really neat tangle that you can just kind of sink your brains into and kind of lose yourself a little bit, just, following the contours, as you kind of, or around and around and around. Really neat tangle. So with that, I hope you enjoyed. And in the description box, I will put the step out. And for those that are new, step out means instructions. The step outs for these, as well as there's ways to connect. If you happen to be on Facebook, we'd love to have you check out our Facebook group. And if you want to participate in that, that would be lovely. The more, the merrier. We have a really fun time having fun with Zentangle. So with that, I wish you happy tangling.